Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your geography lesson for this week. Now, before we begin, can you reflect back? What is geography? Pause the video and see if you can remember. Did you do that? Fantastic. Now, let's have a look together. Geography informs us about our planet and the world we live in. We learn about different places, the continents, and countries, as well as the oceans, rivers, deserts, or mountains on our planet. What did you learn so far about your local area? Pause the video and reflect back on your prior learning. Were you able to do that? Fantastic. Can you remember what is your local area called? Well done, you live in Thornton Heath. Fantastic. Well done for remembering all of these things. Let's move on and have a look at your learning question for this week. Your learning question is, can I discuss what I have learned about my local area and say whether I live in a city, a town, or a countryside? Your steps to success are to identify the features of a town, to identify the features of a city, to identify the features of countryside, and to use aerial photographs and plan perspectives to recognize landmarks and basic human and physical features in a city, a town, and in the countryside. Your star words for this week are my turn, your turn, my turn first, town, country, village, city, houses, farm, council, features, similar, different. Well done. Now we're going to think about the different features of a town or the countryside by reading the story of the town mouse and the country mouse. So listen carefully and have a look to see if you can recognize, if you can identify actually some features of the countryside or some features of a town. So let's start. Once upon a time, a town mouse took a trip to the countryside and met a country mouse. The country mouse invited the town mouse to his home for dinner. They sat down to eat, but the town mouse was shocked by the country food. She had never eaten anything so plain and boring. The town mouse invited the country mouse to sample the food and that he was used to. So the country mouse agreed and they were soon on their way to the town. They arrived at the town mouse's home and headed straight to the cupboard. Inside were jars of jams and chutneys and bags of sugar, rice and pasta and much, much more. The country mouse was amazed. All of a sudden, the kitchen door swung open and the cook walked in. They jumped out of the cupboard and ran across to the mouse hole. The country mouse was terrified. When the coast was clear, the mice ventured back out to find more food. This time, they went to the pantry where they found a jar of delicious, juicy prunes. The country mouse had never tasted anything like it before. So the country mouse was happily munching through the prunes when the town mouse whispered, "Quiet." A cat had crept into the kitchen and was looking for prey. They tiptoed silently back to the hole. After the cat had left, they decided to explore the cellar. They went down the steps, and the country mouse was astonished by the huge amount of food. There were wheels of cheese, meat, piles of fruit and more. The country mouse spotted a particularly tasty looking piece of cheese in the corner. He ran over and was about to tuck him when the town mouse shouted, "Stop! It's a trap!" And with that, the country mouse grabbed his things and went on his way. "Thanks for everything, but I must go now," he said to the town mouse. "I cannot cope with all these shocks. I would much sooner eat my boring food in peace than eat delicious food whilst surrounded by danger." So that was the end of the story. Did you enjoy it? Fantastic. Now, have a think. Did you notice any similarities or differences between a town and the countryside? You can have a look at these two pictures below. The first picture is from a town, and the second one is from the countryside. Which one do you prefer? Why? Pause the video and discuss with someone in your household. Were you able to do that? Fantastic, well done. So, let's discuss what countryside is and find out about it. So, rural areas are areas which are not towns or cities. They are often farming areas. These areas are sometimes called the country or countryside. People who live in the country or the countryside often live in small villages, but they might also live somewhere where there are no other houses nearby. So let's have a look at some photographs of a countryside. I would like you to describe what you can see to someone in your household. Are you ready to go exploring? So this is the countryside. What can you see? Have a look at this one. There are fields in the countryside. What do you like about it? Have you ever been to the fields before? Is there something that you don't like about that? Here's some hay balls. You can find these in the countryside. Here's a cottage. Have you seen a cottage before? Here's a barn. Have you ever seen a barn before? Here's a combine harvester. It's harvest wheat. Here's the farm. Have you ever visited the farm? In the countryside, you might find rivers and lakes as well. Or you might find some farm animals. Can you recognize any of these? So did you enjoy the countryside? Fantastic. Now let's have a look and find out what is a town and see if we can describe some of the features of a town. Are you ready to go exploring? First, let's find out what a town is. A town is an area with streets, houses, and buildings that is larger than a village, but usually smaller than a city. So let's look at some photographs of a town. Can you describe what you can see? This time, I'm going to be very quiet. Make sure you discuss that with someone in your household. So let's go exploring. So did you enjoy having a look around the town? You enjoy looking at the aerial photographs that you can see a town from above. Can you think whether it looked like the countryside? Can you identify some similarities and differences between the countryside and a town? Pause the video and discuss. Were you able to identify some of them? Fantastic. Now, let's have a look what a city is, and then we're going to explore by looking at some photographs of a city. So, are you ready? A city is a place where many people live closely together. City life has many benefits. Cities bring together a great variety of people from different backgrounds. They offer more jobs, more schools, and more kinds of activities than smaller towns and villages. Now, let's look at some photographs of a city and discuss whether you can spot any similarities or differences to the countryside or to a town. What does a city look mostly like? Are you ready? So let's go exploring. So here's the high street of a city. Does it look like the countryside or does it look like a town? What is the difference between a town and a city? Can you spot something that looks like the same or something that looks different? Discuss with someone in your household. So here are some office blocks. Do you think we can find office blocks in the countryside? Not really. What about a town? No, you cannot either. So here's a shopping center. Do you think you can find a shopping center in the countryside or a town? No, you can only find them in cities. So here's a multi-story car park. Here's some blocks of flats. Do you think we can find this in the countryside? No. Remember what we said? In the countryside, people might live in small villages, or the house might be very far away from anybody else's. So here's a football stadium that you can find in a city as well. And in a city, you can find lots of traffic jams that you won't find in a village or in the countryside or in a small. Here is a market. This is in a city. Now, your task today is to identify features in the countryside, a town, and a city. Below are some pictures to help you on to complete your task. Your challenge today is to think whether you live in a city or a town. Explain by describing the features of your local area. I hope you enjoyed today's geography lesson year 1 and well done everybody. I will see you all next time. Bye.